Everyone, welcome to Punjabi Chamber of Commerce's live show, live talk with Donald Voss. And I'll give you a little bit of a brief about Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. We are a non-profit organization to connect Punjabis globally and to give a platform for business owners, small and medium businesses, large businesses, and professionals to come on together and learn and flourish and prosper and share the abundance with others in the community and everyone else. So I welcome Don, and let's get rolling on this. Welcome.
Thanks. I want to thank you, Sandeep, and also the Punjabi San Francisco chapter for the tremendous invitation to join you today. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. And so I want to ask you the reason of this live talk is that when we met at Earth Cafe at near Laguna Beach, I was talking to you a few things about, and you mentioned a word like you helped organize various companies in the last few years, saved around $300 million or something worth of stuff. And that stuck in my head while driving back. And I thought I should talk to you and dig deep into it and see how you did it and how others can benefit out of it, and our community and everyone else can benefit out of it. Now, before we go that, I would like to also say that when I look at for the last 2 years after COVID, there's a lot of talk on recession. And now it would seem that we are already in recession in the US, and we are talking about so many things. So what do you think? How do businesses prepare themselves for the headwinds, apart from talking about other topics? Can we start with that right now?
Sure. Sandeep, it's been a long disruption. If you go back to early days of COVID, I remember working with my clients and sharing a playbook that we put together with associates in Italy, in China. And it's a simple playbook, but sometimes the simple things work best. I just wanted to share it because I think you might find it, people find it of value. Is the first thing is take these and your customers or guests. The second one, conserve cash. The third one, go to core on your supply chain, streamline your supply chain. And then finally, and somewhat most important, your marketers working on how to come out of this ahead of all your competition, win coming out of it. And it's a simple playbook. And we used it in the early stages. I kind of forgot about it, but when I was getting ready for our conversation today and looking at what was going on, and what CFOs that I talk to are facing, which is right now, there's a COVID disruption and coming out of it. But in addition to that, they're trying to retain their talent. They know they need to do process automation and bring AI into their processes. The game changed. And they know there's supply chain disruption. They know the margin pressures from inflation. And a lot of people, as you suggested, believe we could be in the front end or going into a recession. But, there's always another viewpoint. This week, I read a commentary from Moody's chief economist, and I want to make sure I get the quote right because it's simple. I like simple things. He said, recession's not inevitable today, nor is it the most likely path for this economy. And he went on to articulate that, look, through some rough times, but we could be headed to more growth. Corporations are recording profits. They're reporting profits. Balance sheets are really strong. And most importantly, consumers, they've got abundant savings. So I don't know. There's indicators, if you look at the metrics, that would say this. But then if you also peel back and look at what's going on, it could go the other way. I mean, how do you see it?
Yeah, no, I in my view, we are already in recession, and we are pumping trillions of dollars. And the most important thing, and there are certain things we can't help with. That's when governments put in trillions of dollars. The only thing what we can do is to look at our companies and take some certain steps to make sure we are able to survive, and we are able to identify the leakages and stop the leakages and all that. So let's get into what our topic today is. That the most important thing I want to talk about, three things. What is what kind of financial leakages are there in your opinion, and we will chat about that. How can they be stopped, and any process or anything you can suggest. And the third thing we will talk about is, can we create a new revenue stream? And I think you talked about it, creating a new revenue stream, and we'll talk that third. So let's talk about, in your view, what kind of financial leakages are there in any business of small or medium size or large, in your opinion?
Yeah, I would start by saying people don't know what they don't know about their processes. I can say with our company, Sigma Analytics, over 25 years, looking at AP disbursements and procurement through that cycle, accounts payable operate at about 99.5% accuracy in terms of not overpaying. We've found a half point minimum over 25 years of doing this in many circles. Money available, and we're all about looking at the disbursements, the payments that have been made, using our advanced analytics to uncover anomalies and errors, and then actually going back, working with the suppliers to get the money for our client. So that's one.
So can I ask you a question here?
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about 0.5%, so that means you're saying the best AP or accounts payable department wants to achieve is the 99.5% accuracy, and that's a very good thing. So you're saying if we get that 0.5% also, and that's also a significant. So why do you think that's significant? How do you say that's significant? 0.5. I'll be happy to not getting that 5. Can you give me some idea about that?
Yeah, it's all in the numbers. The larger the spend, the more money to be recovered. I mean, over a period of years in recovery, we've got clients 300 million, but if you dial in on individual clients, it could be a few $100,000. It could be 11 million, 10 million, 1 million. People just don't realize or know what's going on. And the typical exposure in a system, everyone usually says, every CFO we've ever talked to says our people and our controls are impeccable. We don't have any leakage, but the devil's in the details when you peel it back and start looking into that and using analytics, looking at, some areas normally know to look at based on previous experience, and also looking at the client. We uncover money for them. And the beauty of our products is we're the best pay for performance partner you could ever have. By that, I mean, if we don't find anything, you don't pay. And we're all about finding money it for them and then working with the CFOs so that we can improve their system so that it doesn't happen again. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like a financial, or it's like a financial physical. You go, you get a checkup, and you see where you're at.
So when you said 0.5%, what are the breakage of or maybe 5, 7, or maybe 2, 3 ideas? And if you take accounts payable as one example, which you said, and 0.5% is your target, and 0.5% is consistent of what kind of main points, right? Yeah,
I mean, so let's dimensionalize it. Let's say they have $100 million that they spend. We're talking about 500 million.
So their spend is.
I'm sorry, 500,000. 500,000 on 100 million.
Okay, so you're saying is that $100 million is their spend yearly, and they may be leaving 500,000 at the table.
Yeah, that's a half a point. I mean, look, you had mentioned, and I thank you for this, that the IOFM Financial Institute has reported 0.2 to 2%. And I believe that. I mean, look, it could be even more. It could be 5%. We have other partners that do what we do that report equal amounts. Mm-hmm. So the typical things are usage charges that aren't correct. They're paying fees for people that aren't using it. I mean, we found 628 was the actual number a couple of years ago for a client paying usage charges that they didn't pay, they didn't use. Typical thing, anytime, Sandeep, that a client or a customer has a non-standard transaction, something involving a credit memo or a return, we find often when we work with suppliers of our clients, they might have $120,000 or $180,000 credits sitting on the supplier books, and we say, hey, we're working with Sandeep company right now. What's going on with credit? Oh, we've been meaning to get in touch with Sandeep to give him this credit. I said, well, yeah, but that credit's there for 3 years. He said, yeah, we've been really busy, but we're working on it. So look, 3 years is long. It's not a long time. You don't know what you don't know. We're here to go in there and do the things that you intend to do, but you never have time to do. I can't tell you how many clients say, oh yeah, we have a list. We want to get somebody on a project. It's a developmental project to go and scrub and look at us. I guarantee you we're a little bit more motivated on the project than they are, because if we don't find anything, we don't get paid.
Okay.
And where things are in business with expertise, you really want to get the best people working on the project you can. Obviously, if you have somebody from a developmental standpoint, we'll bring them along and share everything. But realistically, you want to turn an expert loose and let them do their job and come back to you and report what they've found and learn from it and move on, because there's so many disruptions and so many challenges these days. I mean,
yeah. And I think the best thing which I liked is that you people pay only when you find something, right? Otherwise they can't. But anyway, let's move on to the second thing. Do you think there are when you talk about Institute of Finance and Management, and I think I posted that on LinkedIn, 0.2%, 0.2 to 2% from double payments. You talked about only credit memo and the memos, but we have double payments coming in, 0.2% up to a double payment. That means there are some, we have already paid to somebody and we on a bill, and then we get a statement, or a buyer gets a statement. He forgets he already paid and he pays it again, right? So that's around 0.2%. And then we talk about incorrect payments or other payments. So you look into those areas also, or what do you suggest other than that for?
Absolutely. I mean, I know your background, and all the software providers that sell systems will say we've got controls, we have checks that won't let you pay the same invoice twice. But any process involves people and the tech. And if someone really wanted to pay invoice 125, and they were convinced it hadn't been paid, even though maybe it has been paid, they would put that in the system as 125A or 125B, and that the computer would say that's unique. We don't have that invoice. We haven't paid that. But in essence, they've double paid it. So, our metrics, or not metrics, but our analytics and our processes, we would identify potentials for that. Obviously, we'd investigate it for the client. The other thing is, typically, we've found before, is when a company changes its name, if you went from Sandeep to Akash Inc., and I paid Sandeep, and then I paid Akash Inc. because Akash didn't realize I paid Sandeep, and you basically didn't reconcile who got what, when, and where, we'd kick that out. We'd find that too. And we recently did a client found hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a high growth business. Typically, if somebody's in a high growth business, they're worried about growth, efficiency, and things of the systems is, they're going wide open. That's the best time to bring us in. Also, if you guys were to purchase a company and you wanted to take a look at what was going on, turn us loose on the payables. Let us give you a checkup.
I think the merger and acquisitions, and it brings me back to a couple of things. When you talk about merger and acquisitions, and I found in my technology career in SAP, in those merger and acquisitions and other things, also as a data expert, I have figured out that data is also very important. Like you said that maybe vendor data and all that data, which is wrong, or maybe terms of payment was wrong, or that was not adhered to. Maybe we had a contract with the vendor or supplier, and then never compared the price with the vendor. Now, very fancy, or not fancy, ERPs and SAPs and all that of the world can track a few things or many things, but there are still many cracks where these things can fall into. And so you're saying is that you not only look at the analytics, but also bring in the human aspect to it. And I can hire my own people as an employee, as a business owner, right? It doesn't need to have an outside agency. Am I correct? What we are talking about is, if we look at these data, there are 0.25 to 0.5% of the value is hidden. It is better to hire a third party like yourself, or a person can be identified and they can also implement it themselves. From CFOs can do it. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And a new set of eyes, a fresh perspective. I mean, how many times you get the same problem the same way and said, that someone else took a quick look and said, oh, what about? Same thing's true. Charges that involve CPI, volume discounts, and thresholds, all that situations are prime candidates where we can come in and fresh set of eyes, ask questions and uncover hidden value or things you didn't know existed.
No, I want to share one story with everyone that like I spent around 12 years as an SAP management consultant for for even procure to pay and supply chain and order to cash and all those things in Canada. One story which reminds me is, and I believe that I believe human intervention should be there in unearthing or auditing such things, even though these softwares are very good and they produce tons of reports. One thing which I want to always share with everyone is that if your data is wrong, if your data is wrong, it doesn't, even if you buy the most expensive software, the fastest software in the world, the result will, if the data is wrong, the result will be that your train will wreck faster or than anything else, because it is not going to fix it. So main thing I believe is data, and I'll give you one aspect to it. Why I'm saying train will wreck faster is that in 2006, Don, I went to office. At that time, we didn't have the credit memos and invoices going through emails directly to the client. And in the night, they were all processing thousands and thousands of invoices. And by morning, they used to go to everyone and through mail and all that. There was no emails at that time being configured. Now I reached office, and one of my internal customers in that company said, "Hey Sandeep, I have a pile of credit notes on my printer. What's happening in the system in SAP?" And I went and looked at it, and they were all around 30,000 credit notes were issued that night. And for what? There was something wrong somewhere. Somebody entered and it messed up the entire process, and it issued 30,000 credit notes. Luckily, there was no email, there was no payments, nothing, and that's the printouts were issued to this manager. And he looked at it when he came office at 7 a.m. He was shocked to see 30,000 credit notes issued. And so certain things like that can happen. And if it happens 30,000 invoices, you'll see it. But if it happens once or twice a week, you don't see that. Am I correct?
Yeah, you really don't. Or if he had another urgent and important thing he was working on, and he said, "Well, you're right. He didn't really follow his intuition to check in to follow up." No one would ever know. You'd go down the road, and that money would be lost. And we're really about getting in there. Things like this happen. If you go back, double check, you have a chance of getting your money back.
Yeah. And another thing which I want to ask you is, how often do you think that in accounts payable, it is very important to, we look at terms of payment. We look at whether we are getting that particular discount or a price if we pay in the right time. Do you see certain misses on that part or not, in your experience?
There could be some, and particularly it's around, in percentages. But again, you don't know what you don't know until somebody independently with a new set of eyes looks at it.
Okay.
So you
And
really,
yeah. If we look into so if I understand you correctly, we are talking today is how financial leakages are there. It is double payment, it is unsent invoices, it is contract compliance reviews, it is incorrect and payments, it is payment terms and wrong penalties, or you're not getting the right discounts and the right prices from the customers. So all sorts of things like that we're talking about. They are the a recession or no recession. And I think in recessionary times, we need to be more careful, even if you are a growing company, because growth may stop and growth may stall or growth may reduce, and you will feel the pain at that time. So you need to look at those points for the financial leakage. Now, I would like to ask you if you can spell a little bit on how to optimize it, how to stop it, so that once we have identified these things, how do we stop it if we have if we want to increase? Now, everybody will not be at 99.5%. I think there may be some people, like you said, there are even 5% mistakes. 99.5 is a magic number which the people look for. It is not the average, or it is not the minimum number. Am I correct?
It could be as high as 5%. And our typical engagement, we do the current year and we go back too. So for right now, because COVID involved new processes, people working off site that weren't off, never been a better time. Will COVID happen again? Yeah, I hope not. But the learning from what happened, how the processes were altered, and what we need to do to modify our system checks and balances of who does what where to ensure we're good stewards of the company's money. That's really where we come in once the money is to help put something in place. And most the CFOs and financial community, they know what to do. Just hear from a frame of reference of many different customers in a lot of verticals, and what we've seen over that could be good for you and to help you prevent future leakage. But so there's leakage, but in the analogy of water flow, there's a new faucet you can turn on to your company as well.
Yeah. And yeah, so I before we go to the new faucet, I want to ask you another thing. When you I'm trying to help everyone who may not even engage in a third party, right? So if they want to do it themselves, or when you, or so that I want to go in and deep into understanding what do you try to do. I think, if I remember correctly, or if I can say, and correct me if I'm wrong, and it's saying that everyone looking at 80-20 rule first, finding out asking who are the major suppliers, where are your major issues have been in the past with these suppliers, with those suppliers, and start working from that area? Or do you take the entire holistic approach and say, just give me data, I'll figure it out?
It's actually a hybrid combination. That we would refer to that for being strategic, to look, using 80% of the money where it's being spent. You get a really high return on your work, and it's where the most exposure is in terms of leakage. But analytics, the beauty of us, we look at everything. And I mean, we uncover things like, for example, let's say you have a huge sales force all going to an org development, and a lot of people paid their seminar fees through T&E, and there was a master bill that through AP to pay for people. And so you double paid. Salespeople paid the T&E reimbursement system, and then there was an invoice to AP.
Yeah, that's a very important.
We've caught, that's not something any software will do, but we've identified that before with clients. And again, you don't know what you don't know. We've seen quite a few things, and we're always, but that's an example of a couple different systems.
Yeah, I have been a salesperson, and I have attended webinars, and I think if people don't have checks, so what you're saying is even though we have paid the fees and for the food, for everything, and then salesperson by mistake charges on his own travel expense account, and you're actually paying twice to that. And that may happen on various other, and knowingly or unknowingly, this is happening with the salespeople also. So it's a great point. And I think the benefit of what you're saying is, the benefit is that you are able to do this because your revenue, your business's profit depends on finding such things, right? And so a CFO or a supply chain leader can say, hey, do this for me. I don't want to be bothered. I have already too much on my plate. And if you find 0.5%, I'll give you X amount out of that. And maybe that's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. If we don't find anything, we don't get paid. And, CFOs, they know we have utmost confidentiality, transparency, and integrity. That's some of our core principles. So they turn us loose within their system to get this done. The minimal amount of their time, we keep them posted. We'll show them our work, but the end is a very good thing. I can't remember where we didn't find anything, but sometimes it could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions, tens of millions.
Yeah, and there is something wrong in your mic, because it is the voice is breaking a little bit. So
how about now?
It's a little better. Yeah, just keep it more like this. And it has been breaking for the last few minutes. So I have a question that says, if I am planning to start a business working as a supplier or and want to automate the process, how reliable the software and how customizable they can be in terms of usage? And can we completely rely on we need to intervene? It seems like the audience is asking whether you are trying to, or you have a software and you're giving a software to someone to go and run it. But I think you'll answer that. What do you provide instead of the software?
We have our own. Yeah, we have our own software that we use to
but
go
you don't give software to anybody. What you're saying is you are a strategy consulting company which can go into a company, use your own software to find the hidden value in the company, hide the hidden mistakes and all that, and then come up with a solution to get that money out from those people who have not paid or who have been double paid.
Yeah, it's our 25 years of experience and our software, unique software that started out with top 4 consultancy, and find it's our software. It's proven, and we're improving it all the time based on what we learn. But it's our software. We don't license it, or
you don't license it. So you use it to do this work. You're saying. And all that. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. And you just alluded to that, saying having a new tap apart from leakage. And we talked about leakages. We talked about how we stop it, and definitely they can do it themselves or hire experts like you, and to find it and pay only when you find something or get the money. Not only find, right? So get the money. Am I correct, or just finding the money?
No, we get the money, and the money goes to the client. It never comes to us. It goes direct to them. But we have all the documents and the paperwork to show. Just people always, people. I just want to add one thing. People always say, "Well, how do you know they're going to pay?" We maybe had one instance over 25 years where a supplier didn't want to stay in good standing with their customer and settle up on a mistake. They pay.
They pay. And so you're talking like you are a combination of a software company, a consulting company, and a collection company, if I can use the word. Am I three parts of the package? Am I correct?
Yeah, the collection's in a really positive light. It's like, hey, Sandeep, we found this error. How do you want to settle this? And it's pretty easy. The collection part.
Collection part is easy. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I should say this, but I spent more than 3 decades in India, collection was the most difficult part of it. I don't want to say that, but I can just give you a perspective here. But that's why in my mind, I was a salesperson. I used to always feel that's the most difficult part of our life. But anyway, now we talk about the third thing of our show is that how do I have a new faucet? How do I have a new revenue? I know situation is stressful for many business owners. Their employee costs are increasing. There's a great, not recession, but great resignation. You can't find employees. A Starbucks near me closes down every once in a while in a week because they don't have employees showing up. They have to pay through the nose to have an employee just to stand up. And I was at a store a few days back where a manager was begging an employee and say, "You tell me the time you want to work, and I will make sure that that process is." We are going through that tremendously challenging time for business owners. How can I ensure that without impacting a lot, without investing money, I can create a new revenue stream? Can you do something like that for me? I'm curious.
Absolutely. We spent the first part of our discussion talking about recovering out of payments, money going out. And my partner, Greg, and I, in looking at that, we talked about the actual act of disbursements, or the actual process of making the payments. And typically it's with paper checks, nowadays electronic with ACH and wire transfers. But we have a payment platform. We call it payments as a service. Sandeep, it's much like payroll as a service, the ADP Paychecks and Workday. If you were to talk about ADP and Paychecks 30 years ago, this payments as a service platform in the US, in my mind, is now today where they were 30 years ago. By that, I mean, if I talk to 10 CFOs, maybe one will know of this platform. And it's been going on for 12 years. And this is how it works. The customer or the client sends what they want to pay through their existing payables and ERP system. It's basically a list of what's approved to pay. And we optimize how we pay those bills. We have a virtual card, and it is much like a credit card. It's a 16-digit unique code. It doesn't have a credit limit. It's just a unique number spun up to settle a payment.
Mm-hmm.
In the card, the beauty of it is it provides $15,000 revenue for $1 million paid on this virtual card. Again, every million we pay is $15,000 new revenue stream. So in effect, we're paying our clients to pay their customers.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question, I'm very curious about it. How much, so $1 million will save them $15,000 and also save them a few employees also, employee costs. That's in addition. Yeah, go ahead.
It'll free up time. There's three main ways that are paid: the tried and true old-fashioned approach to paper check. And I mean, if you need to provide a lot of background, like if you're paying talent or agent, or you're paying talent, you need to provide some extra paperwork, you're still going to need a paper check. We'll do that. We'll also do wire transfers. But importantly, our motivation is to pay with a virtual card. Most every company we know has realized from the supplier standpoint that their revenue department, that they can sell more by taking credit cards. And they've baked this credit card fee into their pricing. So right. Our clients, we tell them, because a lot of times they ask, well, I don't want my suppliers to be diminished or get less. And I say, well, respectfully, you're trying to tell their treasury or revenue management department how to run their business, because they've already got credit card fees baked in their price.
Yeah.
Now there may be certain, if we're a baker and we're buying flour, probably wouldn't pay for the flour on the card. It's not for everything, but for the most part,
yeah.
When we get all these invoices to pay, over 40% of what we pay dollar value invoice wise is on this card.
And
So we're providing a tremendous value back to clients with this.
I can tell you that I bumped up 3% for my when I had my own digital marketing company. I bumped up for 3% for my Stripe payment. The moment I figured out 2.7, I actually added 3% on every product, no matter what, because I didn't want to pay. And I think most of the suppliers must be doing it. And so you're saying it that you have a process or the platform which is 12-year-old, and many businesses are already using it. And if just like if I understand it correctly, just like you have Paycheck or ADP taking care of the payment to the employees, this company can take care of the payment to the suppliers, and you actually save tons of time for the employees, because then they will be able to spend actual time on strategic activities, on the
more important things,
more important activities, where or only work on exceptions rather than working on creating checks and delivering it at the right time. So that's what I get it from what you're saying.
Yeah, we typically see payables departments, like one afternoon they may do checks, paper checks, and then they may do ACH. They kind of spend their time and focus, rightfully so, on a payment type. That time is freed up, so your team can do all the projects, all the things you ever wanted to do, more strategic work. And it's probably, realistically, they probably don't enjoy printing and mailing out checks.
Another thing, I'm curious, what kind of companies usually sign up for it? Do you think only small companies sign up for that, or is there any name company I can, I need to be confident about it? Like, I'll give you an example. I trust ADP, I trust Paycheck, but I may not trust Sigma. What do you have to say?
I mean, the customer list, size-wise, 10 million annual AP spend, up to the tens of billions. Customers in many different verticals: healthcare, municipalities like the City of Lauderdale, media buyers, because when you pay for media, large dollar, big ticket items, 150 basis points is a lot of money. Entertainment companies like Caesars, big manufacturing companies, Sherwin-Williams, Valspar Paints. These are big companies. The client retention.
They're all the customers. They have been using this platform, and so are there. So that means even billion-dollar companies are using it.
Correct. Yeah, so the company. So we're an independent sales organization for. They're traded on NASDAQ. They have a 98% client retention over 12 years.
Okay.
And so my point is, if this wasn't good for these big customers, they wouldn't hang around. They're still there. Our biggest thing is an education awareness to make this known and to let people know, no investment. This is easy to do. You can be paying next week and getting a new revenue stream.
Yeah. Well, I agree. So now we have already covered three things. What kind of financial leakages are there, how it can be stopped, and there is an optimization process you talked about, and we talked about 80-20 rules, how you approach it. We talked about how to have another tap for the revenue, and we already talked about unlocking the funds we never knew we had because of that. Now, I want to talk about a couple of examples which I noted down, and we go back to my favorite topic of accounts payable, and because I've been reading about it and I have so much of experience in working on that, and I saw an errors, and would tell me whether you or your team will be able to find such errors or not. A shipping charge of $320.70, $320.70 was billed at 3207.00 and was paid. So instead of 320.70, you actually paid 3,207. And are you able to find such things? Number one. The another example I have is a buyer received a separate statement and invoice. I talked about it on a single order, and we paid, right? Then you already talked about Akash Inc. and Sandeep Inc. and messing up on that, but there are similar kind of names also, like and then there's another one which I noted down was that we have a 3% discount on a payment terms of X, and we do the payment terms, but we don't get that 3% discount from them. So do you look at such things, or do you look at other things, or more, or what would you like to say?
Well, we're looking at the total spend and the total invoice. We can dial in on that if there's a concern about it. Yeah. And as it relates to freight, Sandeep, we do have in our team subject matter experts on freight, so we would definitely get to the bottom of that freight. And I will say right now, because everyone's talking about inbound, there's inbound freight and outbound freight. Inbound freight, I hate to say it, you pretty much have to pay what you have to pay right now. Most of our stuff and our help is on outbound, unless it's the infrastructure organization or supply chain.
Okay. So
we can help with that too.
Yeah, I know the inbound is happening so much that because I think it has increased 10 times or something because of the China and the freight and supply chain issues.
Yeah, right. We met in Laguna Beach, but if we went up to Huntington Beach and you looked out in the ocean, you probably see quite a few container ships queued up to go into the port of Long Beach. It's gotten much better. I know it was in the news media months ago about the backup, but there still are ships sitting out there. Okay, I understand. So Akash, is there any other question, or I think we are done for our discussion, and we can answer any question if you have.
Yes, we have a question in the chat box. It's by Akash.
Okay, I already answered that. It might be an advice question. I don't have much knowledge about. Can we completely rely?
Okay, so no, not right now. We don't have any other question.
Thank you very much. So I think is there anything else, Don, you want to say here?
No, I hope in talking about disruption and all the forces we're facing, futurists say never change so fast, but they will never change this slow again. And that really is what we're looking at right now. Always on, 24/7. Bring in some experts to help you. We're here to help. We've tried, true, proven. You can get a hold of us at Sigma Analytics, or get a hold of me through LinkedIn or Sandeep. We're here to help provide some money for you right now. I'll just close to reiterate that COVID playbook, because it's simple, but it's true, and it's even applicable now. It's number one, protect your employees and your customers. Number two, conserve cash. Number three, and these aren't in or priority orders. Number three, streamline your supply chain. We talked about that. And number four, get your marketing team going on how to come out of this ahead of everybody else. What could be coming, Sandeep? You mentioned your Starbucks, about the supply chain, about not having enough people take care of your employees. We know the Great Resignation. What may be coming, is people try and conserve cash. The CFOs will pull levers like pull back on advertising. So if you're a CMO and you need some extra revenue to pay for an important initiative, we can help you unlock a new revenue stream and solve your problem.
Yeah. Next time, it's just so funny, next time a CMO or somebody goes and asks CFO for some money, they say, I don't have money, then tell him, then you go create another same. That's great. I think that's a very. So let's call it a day, and thank you very much. We'll do a recording of it, and recording usually is sent through email to all members. Even if they were not here, they can be accessible. It will be on our channel, and since it's a live session, a live session will be available on our LinkedIn and Facebook groups and all that. I have another question. It says, are your services available US or worldwide?
The recovery could be done worldwide. The payment platform is USD based. So if you're a worldwide company paying bills in the US with USD, we can help you with the new revenue stream.
Okay, but from the collection and for identifying the issues and all that, that's going to be there. And I think for worldwide also, even companies where you can actually go and look into whether they are overpaying or not getting the right price and all that, you can actually find those things from your analysis, and may not actually go into a collection part of it, and then maybe you can have some, because I gave you a collection part of it from Indian story. It's the hardest part to collect money, but I understand. But you are available in the US, you said, or maybe Canada also.
US and Canada predominantly, but contact us if there's a way we can help you. We're committed to
definitely.
do that.
And reach out, and otherwise also as a supporter of our Chamber of Commerce. I think if anybody has any question, Don will definitely find time to answer that. And if not, I'll book time with him. Reach out to me. Thank you very much, sir.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye, Akash.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. I'm closing.